Well, the Supercommittee's failure causing a rift on Capitol Hill, leaving Congress up against a new deadline and mounting pressure to save billions in jobless benefits and tax cuts. But what happens if they can't get it done? Let's bring in our panel. Kimberly Guilfoyle, co-host of The Five, Jehmu, Greene, former president of the Women's Media Center and Fox News contributor, and Deneen Borelli, Project 21 fellow, Daily Caller columnist, and a Fox News contributor. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Hi, Heather.
And congratulations, Kimberly, on 100 shows for The Five.
We are so excited. First, I thought it was Bob Beckel's birthday because it's a surprise for all of us. And then we saw the candle, and he's like, I'm not 100 yet.
Oh, no, not yet, not quite yet. But people that probably are feeling 100 plus, all the members of Congress right now, because they just can't seem to get anywhere with anything. And the public really, showing their disapproval. Only 10% right now approve of the job that Congress is doing. So let's talk a little bit about that. What can they possibly do?
Well, listen, we have a divided government going on right now because of the last election. But what's even more concerning is the fact that we have an incompetent government, specifically in the Senate majority under Reid's leadership, which is a huge problem. They haven't passed a budget in over 900 days.
Yeah, well, there's been actually, I think, an abdication of leadership altogether. And I have to say I wasn't optimistic that this was going to get done at all. So it didn't come as a surprise for me because I think both sides have certain positions that are intractable and they're not willing to give, so both sides can be at fault in this particular situation. But the big winner in this is President Obama, because it just feeds into the class warfare stuff and saying that he's, having a hard time because this is a Congress that he can't work with. That specifically, the Republicans are putting their own interests and politics ahead of what's right for the American people. That's the rhetoric that he's using for the campaign.
Jehmu?
Well, I think most Americans would look at this and say a four-letter word. Q-U-I-T. They want these folks to just quit, get out of there. They're incapable of sticking to policy positions and compromises that, especially from the Republican standpoint, they were willing to do. They were willing to look at how we could increase revenue before it became about political calculation, before it became about defeating Barack Obama in 2012. There was actually an opportunity for us to compromise. And now many of the Republicans have just said, there's no way we're going to compromise. We're not going to put increased revenue on the table. We're not going to put the American people first. And so all of Congress is being lumped together when, at the end of the day, I think who should really quit is anyone who says, I'm an elected official and I'm unwilling to fight for the American people with compromise.
So wasn't it really a problem to begin with that the Supercommittee had to be created to begin with? I mean, we shouldn't even be here talking about this.
Right. Both chambers should have been involved in this process. They, as far as I'm concerned, they just kicked the can down the road and tried to shift the responsibility on the 12 members of the committee, but really all parties should have been involved with this.
It's kind of a faux deadline in a way, because there wasn't really the pressure that people were suggesting, because these cuts wouldn't even across the board take effect until 2013. So we're funded through then, and so it wasn't really something that I think they even felt real pressure about.
And before we move on to the next topic, I did want to talk about this poll of sorts, or this graphic that was put together by Senator Michael Bennet, and he talked about things more popular than Congress right now, and this really tells the whole story. More popular than Congress right now. The list includes President Nixon during Watergate at 24%. Remember, Congress is at 10% approval right now. The BP during the 2010 oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, approval 24%, and the U.S. adopting communism at 11%. All greater approval ratings than Congress right now.
That's doesn't it? I mean, how sad is that? It's pathetic.
Yeah.
People don't need to lose their jobs.
It's not going to mean anything if we don't have an influx of new people to replace the folks who are unwilling to compromise. So if we don't have, I would like more teachers, more nurses to put themselves up for political office. People who understand when you're on the job, you're there to do something to actually do what you're hired for. But unless we have that influx, it's not going to make a difference.
I don't know if I would ever want to run for public office because of what happens when you do. Well, it has been over 2 months since the Occupy Wall Street protests started springing up all around the country, and some of the cost associated with it costing taxpayers over $13 million. So are they getting their message across, or is it just, defeat to begin with?
And this is an absolute disgrace. I'm part of the Tea Party movement. We play by the rules. You get a permit, you say what you have to say, you obey the law, and you go home. They have been getting away with this for far too long, and it's costing these cities, states, way too much money. It's just, it's outrageous.
And the $13 million, we should say, that is the cost of, the
Cleanup,
police,
security,
the cleanup,
yeah.
the security, that type of thing that's gone into
Look,
it.
I think it's important for people to express their opinions as a lawyer. I mean, the First Amendment, it's very important. So I believe in freedom of speech, and if they have a protest or a grievance, absolutely. But at a certain point, you got to draw the line and stop coddling people who are resorting to violence, people who are resorting to vandalism, people who are resorting to boycotting Black Friday, etc. What we need is actually to stimulate the economy. We want people out there spending their dollars to help get this whole thing thriving again. That's a big problem. You're only hurting hardworking Americans who need that job and people who want to bring home money to their family. Why are you going to tell people not to go out and shop? It makes no sense.
Jehmu, quickly, I think you
Because
disagree.
change comes at a cost,
Okay.
and change comes with struggle. And yes, that $13 million is a big, big price tag, but it was a big price tag when there was dissent and disruption in the original Constitutional Convention.
They're
that got us the
breaking
Bill
the
of Rights,
law,
the
Jehmu.
Montgomery
They're
bus
breaking
boycott,
the law.
the folks down in Montgomery who had to find a way to get to work, the African-American men and women who boycotted it, it made a difference, even though it made their life a little
Yeah.
People are
economically
breaking the
harder.
law, and it's
And
wrong.
they have gotten their message across. In my lifetime, I've never seen so much conversation about wealth disparity in this country, and it's because of the Occupy movement.
All right. Well, coming up.